I'm Dennis Prager with Kay Wilson, a British-born Israeli tour guide who was attacked, she and her American Christian friend, taking a walk in the forest in Jerusalem in 2010, correct, 2010?
Yeah, December.
And left to die after being macheted, and her dear friend from America did, in fact, die. Please continue.
So after they finish butchering, they believe I'm dead, and I understand I'm going to die very soon, but I wanted to have that sense of autonomy to die even an inch away. And as I'm moving, it's like the last word, you know, I realized I could probably get up and die even 5 feet closer so the Israeli police could find my body. And I managed to stand. And nothing hurts anymore because of the adrenaline and the shock. I'm freezing cold. And I turn my back on my friend, or what's left of her, and I begin, gagged, barefoot, bound, walking uphill through the forest. I can hear the twigs snap under my feet. I can hear the birds singing, the crickets are chirping. The wind is blowing on my brow, and I've got vomit behind my gag. I've got mud and blood stuffed up my nose. And it's like being at high altitude. I can hardly breathe. And in order not to think about Christine and get nearer and nearer as far as possible to the car, I start to compose this arrangement of Somewhere Over the Rainbow, which, as you know, is written by Jewish sons of cantors, Jewish cantors, and it talks about hope for a better world. And that was very significant because Dennis, thinking about that, I managed to walk, gag-bound, barefoot, uphill for over a mile, and I had, and I'll tell you my wounds, I had 6 snapped ribs, I had 30 fractures in my rib cage, I had a dislocated shoulder, broken shoulder blade, crushed sternum, and 13 machete wounds in my lungs and diaphragm. And I find the way back to the car and rush to hospital, and I do like irony. So I get to Hadassah in Karam Hospital, and the last words I hear as I'm on the operating table was from a Jewish surgeon to his Arab colleague who said, "Muhammad, give me the knife." So what I'm saying is it was an Arab-Israeli surgeon who saved my life. And then of course there's a police blackout, the police forces, they want to catch a greater terror cell. 6 weeks after the murder, I find out that because I stabbed him, the DNA on my blood, on my knife helped the police catch the murderers within hours. They confessed to murdering another woman previously, and also a 13-man terror cell was caught.
I have a lot of questions for you, and I will pose them when we come back. Kay Wilson, thank you for being here, and I'll explain why she is, in addition to simply the power of the story. You're listening to the Dennis Prager Show. Hi everybody, Dennis Prager here, and it's rare that I carry a guest over the hour. We carry them past breaks within an hour, but carryover is pretty rare, but this is a very special instance. Here on a speaking tour in the United States, and I am grateful to the wonderful organization StandWithUs for making this woman available to us. Kay Wilson, she is a British-born Israeli tour guide. She and her American Christian friend were walking in 2010 in the Jerusalem forest, just taking a hike, and they were attacked by 2 Palestinians with machetes, and they were hacked to death, except clearly one amazingly didn't die, the friend did. She described what she underwent and what she saw with her friend. And I've really never spoken to someone who has endured what this woman has endured. So I have a lot of questions for you, and I thank you. First of all, is it painful to restate and not reenact, but state what happened to you? Is it hard every time, or is it?
No, it's not. It's certainly not cathartic. I mean, I did intense trauma therapy in Israel, obviously, and sadly we have to have the best trauma therapists in the world. But what it does do, it gives me purpose in a way. You know, you have to make meaning out of something so senseless. but it does leave me very mentally exhausted afterwards.
Yeah, it's a very good answer. I mean, any answer would have been good, but that makes perfect sense to me. What, that may sound bizarre, but I hope it doesn't sound it. Was the worst what you endured, or what you saw your friend, or to see your friend murdered? I mean, people, you talk and everyone will talk about what you endured, but that has to be part of that, a big part of that trauma.
It's also watching somebody murdered, and in such a violent way. I mean, it's hands-on, you know, it's not like even a bullet to the head, which is still horrible. But then it wasn't just watching, it was, and it's maybe because I'm a musician, I don't know, but it was listening to somebody pray in utter helplessness. You know, I felt like I was barging in on the Holy of Holies, like I was privy to a very intimate conversation between Christine and her maker. And I think that really damages a person's innocence. And the other thing is, I can hear, you know, talk about what was worse. They hacked without fury. They had a Marlboro in one hand and a machete in the other. It was so banal. It was like just, oh, what are we going to do next? You know, it was shocking in its everydayness.
That's a very interesting aspect.
Excuse me, guys. Wait, sorry,
Yeah,
but
sorry, go right ahead.
have to be pushy here, Israeli. But it's the same deadness that I saw with them when I was in court. I sat 15 feet away from them, and they were bored. They yawned, and then they started smirking, and I thought, how on earth can two men who were once little boys grow up and hack innocent women without blinking an eye and smoking a cigarette afterwards? And I do want to say this, that the only reason my Christian American friend was murdered is because they mistakenly thought that she also was Jewish. That's why she was. I have that document, I have it in the court, and the painful thing about, I'll take over your radio show now, but the painful thing about this whole visit in America, where I've met amazing people, is that your taxpayers' money, your American taxpayers' monies are being funded and paying the people who murdered an American citizen and almost took my own life.
Right. So, you thought you would die.
Yeah.
What happens to a person when they think they are going to die? Is there a peace? Is there a panic? Is there an indescribable sadness? What is the emotion thinking you're about to die?
Well, first of all, the half an hour where we're held at knife point, it's eternal, all right? And that's where the fear, terror is the biggest. But the moment I'm on my knees, and the moment I see that knife and I understand I'm going to be beheaded, it's like there's no way out of it. It's almost like you're drained, everything falls out of your body, and you just, the only prayer is, God, please let him hack off my head quickly and not saw it. So that I didn't feel at the point of being butchered like I was trying to maintain the pain, you know, and not move. But when I was walking back through that forest, you know, I call it the Gates al Mavit, the Valley of the Shadow of Death, all right? And I was flooded with loss. I'm never again going to see the people I love. I'm never again going to hear jazz or drink good wine or listen to the howl of the desert wind or make somebody giggle or just hear somebody's voice. All these things that comprise of life. It was a huge grief that I wouldn't partake in life. Now, concerning more like philosophical, spiritual matters, I didn't see my life pass before me. And I think it's because I was too traumatized and terrified. But as I'm being butchered, I do remember looking up at the heavens, so to speak. And I had this internal sense, rightly or wrongly, it could be completely subjective, that God is very big, and he's very kind, and he's very, very angry all at once. And I didn't feel scared to die. At that point, you know, I'd resigned myself to the fact.
Did it ultimately affect your attitude toward God?
No, it's interesting. A lot of Christian people, usually ask me that question. It's enhanced my, I think it's enhanced my moral attitude. Like some people say, well, you know, why did God let that happen? But I have to go back to the image when I'm laying now on my back and he's about to stab me near the heart. I see that most beautiful sunset. It's glorious. And then I see this silhouette of his hand and the machete, a hand God made. And I think that's a very powerful visual, because especially in Judaism, okay, God makes us, but we have a moral choice. So in a way, I don't believe that God had anything to do with it. But I have to choose to walk with dignity and live my life with dignity, you know, and that means I have to be thankful to God that I'm still alive. I have to choose to listen to the sounds of the birds and not just hear the scream of my friend. I have to choose to inhale the fragrance of the pines and not just smell the vomit behind my gag. So life is, it's momentarily choices in which I'm very thankful to God that I'm alive, although I have no theological explanation and I don't have the Messiah complex that I was saved for a purpose either.
You're very rational, which I'm prone to myself. So I tremendously appreciate your description and your attitude. How long did it take you to physically recover?
Okay, so can I tell a joke? It will explain it. It's only 1 second. 2 Jewish women in a Jewish restaurant. The waiter comes up and says, "Ladies, is anything okay?"
Gotcha.
All right. I was on my back for nearly 2 years. I'm in chronic pain, not acute pain. I'm in chronic physical pain. It's like having toothache all over your body. And I'm in mental pain. You know, I sometimes get flashbacks, things will set stuff off, but I have to choose life because that's what Moses told us to do.
What was the biggest help to you? Friends, faith, music? What was the biggest help?
Okay, the irony is the biggest help was just simply being part of Israel and the Jewish people and the Israeli people, because we, as a nation, we absorb this stuff quite regularly. In fact, I'm sitting here looking on my smartphone and there's an alert saying there's been another stabbing. You know, you probably won't even make your media, but this kind of thing goes on all the time, and even in Jewish history we've had a lot of suffering, but we've always built upon that. So I think the help for me has been, you know, I don't have a mandate on suffering. When you talk to Israelis, they've been through terrible things, and I've been able to draw on other people's experiences. It hasn't been so sacred that people don't know what to say. And what has been very helpful is that my friends or the community or the people of Israel, they give me a certain normalcy. And even we can afford, you know, they'll joke about me being stabbed only 13 times, but I think just being part of Israel is, it's like a bad marriage. You know, I wanted to divorce, and then I realized, no, this is a chance to mature in my love for my country.
20.
1-8-PRAGER 777-243-777-776 on a speaking tour in the United States. Kay Wilson, brought by the organization Stand With Us. She's a British-born Israeli tour guide. I'm Dennis Prager. I'm Dennis Prager, and final questions here. I could actually speak to her, I think, for hours. The woman is Kay Wilson. She's on a speaking tour in the United States, brought by the organization Stand With Us. She is an Israeli tour guide, British-born, as you can hear in the accent. And she underwent something that very few people, thank God, go through. Attacked by 2 Palestinians, she and her American Christian friend, who the friend actually was murdered in the attack. She was macheted repeatedly. It's somewhat of a miracle that she's alive. And it was to your credit that you noted, because it could easily have a lot of hatred in you, and I think you should have hatred for the people who did this. I'm going to ask you about that in a moment. But you did mention that it was an Arab Israeli surgeon who saved your life. And that is to your credit that you mentioned that. I think that was a big deal. It was in passing, but I assure you, I picked up on it, and I'm sure I'm not alone in having done so. So you faced your your would-be murderers in trial, and they were cavalier, they were nonchalant, just as your description of one of them smoking his Marlboro while macheting your friend to death is also a very powerful, harrowing thing. So what happened in court?
Well, there was no forensic doubt. Obviously, his blood was on my penknife. They proudly confessed. I mean, they were gloating about
How
it.
old are they?
34 years old.
Really?
Yeah, they weren't children. I mean, you've just mentioned again, the staggering thing was their boredom. They were just bored.
Well, the banality of evil.
Well, that, and
remains
also
famous.
you have to ask why, how can they do this? And it's incitement. I mean, everything in the Palestinian Authority is flooded with how to kill Jews. Jews are pigs and monkeys. It's in their media, their summer camps, their music, their
That's right.
crossword puzzles.
That's right.
And so at the end of the court, the one who stabbed Christine the most times, he was also responsible for the murder of this other Israeli lady, Netta Blatzowek, Zichronah Levacha. He got 120 years, and the one who stabbed me the most times got 35 years life. That's in Israel for Christine, and 20 for my own attempted murder. And may they stay in prison.
There was no defense.
It was a defense, but it's, what are they going to say?
Right. I was just
Yeah,
curious.
yeah.
But they were proud of what they did.
They're
They
very
actually
proud
said
about
that.
it. Yes, and as I said, I've got the documents, I have the court records. They slept in the forest the night before because they came to kill Jews. And this is what is going on in Israel every single day. And people are becoming so bland about it. It's like you think a little stabbing
No,
attack.
it's worse than that. At the universities and in Europe, the Jews are blamed.
I know, I'm on a speaking tour and I could see the same anti-Semitism that took the life of an American Christian is what's brewing in American campuses.
That's right. How are you today?
I'm thanking God for every moment, and I'm in pain. It's a dichotomy, but I don't like to call myself a victim. I was a victim of a terror attack, but I'm a survivor. I find that much more empowering. And by the way, this pornography of victimhood that the Palestinian Authority absconds with, as well as Jewish history, is so, if people care for the Palestinians, all right? One of the things you asked me before all these adverts was, what helped me? And it's like, there's no Israeli came up to me and said, your life is not going to amount to anything, you're just a victim of terror. Yeah, this is a terrible indictment on somebody. And I've learned to choose life. Okay, so how am I? I live with a sense that I'm grateful for every moment. And by this gratitude, although I live with pain, every moment's a miracle, every moment's an agony. This gratitude is helping me also to reach out to Palestinian friends who also don't want to buy into this pornography of victimhood that the Palestinian Authority puts upon them. They're choosing the few ones that I have, they're choosing small little businesses. There's nothing noble, moral, kind, or true to hold any person or any people group in perpetual victimhood.
Well, you're a remarkable woman. It's an honor to meet you.
Thank you, Dennis. It's a very big honor for me to meet you too.
Thank you.